The first time I realized I might be wrong about the woman living under my roof. My hands were shaking so badly I spilled tea all over the kitchen counter. I remember staring at the puddle, watching it creep toward the edge, thinking, if I don't act now, something in this family is going to fall apart. And I was terrified. I already knew what. My name is Margaret Lawson. I'm 68 years old, a retired school librarian, and until 6 months ago, I believed my son Daniel had married the most perfect woman in the world. Her name is Emily. Emily was the kind of daughter-in-law people brag about, soft-spoken, polite, always remembering birthdays. She laughed easily and listened carefully, like every word you said mattered. When Daniel introduced her to me 2 years ago, she brought homemade lemon bars and called me Mrs. Lawson until I insisted she use my first name. She helped me carry groceries. She texted me pictures of her garden. When I had knee surgery last winter, she came every evening after work to sit with me, rubbing lotion into my swollen leg while telling gentle stories about her day. If someone had told me then that I would one day follow her through the city like a spy, I would have laughed in their face. But something changed after they moved in with me temporarily while saving for their own house. It started small. Emily began stepping outside to take phone calls. At first, I thought she was just being polite. Then I noticed the timing. Always late at night, always whispered. I would hear the back door slide open around 11, followed by the faint murmur of her voice floating through the screen. One night, I woke to get water and saw her standing in the backyard under the porch light. Her shoulders were hunched. Her free hand was trembling at her side. I can't keep doing this, she whispered into the phone. I froze in the hallway. A pause. I know, she said, her voice breaking, but he can't ever find out. It would destroy him. My chest tightened. I stepped back before she could see me and returned to my room, my mind racing. He can't ever find out. The words echoed like a drumbeat. Daniel had always been sensitive. He loved deeply, trusted easily. The idea of someone hurting him carved a cold hollow in my stomach. Over the next few weeks, the signs multiplied. Emily started coming home later than usual, offering vague explanations about work. She kept her phone locked and close, even taking it into the shower. At dinner, she smiled and nodded, but her eyes seemed distant, like she was watching something only she could see. Daniel didn't notice, or if he did, he dismissed it. She's just stressed, he told me one evening when I cautiously mentioned her long hours. We've got a big project deadline. I wanted to believe him. I truly did. But the image of Emily in the backyard, whispering secrets into the dark, wouldn't leave me. Suspicion is a slow poison. It seeps into everything. I began observing her without meaning to. The way she flinched when her phone buzzed. The way she sometimes sat in her car for several minutes after arriving home, staring straight ahead before forcing a smile and coming inside. One afternoon, while folding laundry, I found a receipt in the pocket of her jacket. It was from a small cafe on the far side of the city, a place nowhere near her office. The date was from a day she'd told Daniel she was working late. My heart pounded as I held the thin strip of paper. I told myself there could be a simple explanation, a meeting, a friend, but doubt whispered louder than reason. The breaking point came on a rainy Thursday evening. Emily announced she had to run an errand after dinner. She kissed Daniel on the cheek, grabbed her coat, and left in a hurry. Through the window, I watched her car disappear down the street, my pulse thudding in my ears. Something inside me snapped into decision. I grabbed my own coat and keys. I'm going for a drive, I called to Daniel, forcing my voice to sound casual. He was absorbed in a basketball game and barely looked up. The night air was cold and wet against my face as I slid into my car. My hands trembled as I started the engine. For a moment, I hesitated. What are you doing, Margaret? I scolded myself. This is madness. But the fear of not knowing was stronger. I drove slowly, scanning the road until I spotted Emily's taillights a few cars ahead. I kept my distance, my heart hammering so loudly I was sure it would give me away. The city looked different at night. Streetlights blurred in the rain, casting long reflections across the pavement. My windshield wipers beat a frantic rhythm as I followed her through unfamiliar neighborhoods. She turned into a narrow street lined with aging brick buildings. My stomach twisted. This wasn't a place you visited for casual errands. Emily parked in front of a dimly lit structure with a flickering sign. I drove past, pretending to search for parking, and stopped half a block away. For several seconds, I couldn't move. Then I saw her step out of the car. She looked different, smaller. Her shoulders were slumped, her face pale under the streetlight. She glanced around nervously before hurrying inside the building. I waited a full minute before following. The hallway smelled of disinfectant and old paint. A buzzing fluorescent light flickered overhead. At the end of the corridor was a door with a small sign, Community Health Outreach Center. Confusion washed over me. I pushed the door open slightly and slipped inside. The room beyond was quiet, filled with rows of plastic chairs. A few people sat scattered around, their faces etched with exhaustion. And there, in the corner, was Emily. She was kneeling in front of a thin teenage boy slumped in a chair. His clothes were worn, his eyes hollow. Emily held his hands, speaking softly. Tears streamed down her face. "I'm so sorry I'm late, Jason," she whispered. "I brought your medication and food. You have to keep fighting, okay, for me." The boy managed a weak nod. My breath caught in my throat. I watched as Emily pulled a bag from her purse, handing him neatly packed containers. She brushed his hair back with a tenderness that pierced me. A woman in scrubs approached them. "He's lucky to have you," she said gently. Emily shook her head. "He's my brother, I'm the lucky one." Brother? The word hit me like a physical blow. I stepped back, my mind reeling. Brother. Emily had told us she was an only child. I leaned against the wall, struggling to piece together what I was seeing. The nurse continued speaking. "The treatments are expensive. Are you sure you can keep covering this?" Emily's jaw tightened. "I'll find a way, I always do. He's all I have." My heart twisted painfully. In that moment, the truth unfolded with devastating clarity. The secret phone calls, the late nights, the distant eyes. Emily wasn't betraying my son. She was fighting a private war. I must have made a sound, because Emily looked up and saw me standing there. Her face drained of color. "Margaret," she whispered. The room seemed to shrink around us. Jason looked between us, confused. Emily rose slowly, her hands shaking. "I can explain," she said, her voice barely audible. We stepped into the hallway. The door clicked shut behind us, sealing us in a bubble of tense silence. "Why didn't you tell us?" I asked, my voice trembling. Tears spilled down her cheeks. "Because I was ashamed," she said. "My parents died when Jason was little. He got sick 2 years ago. I've been paying for his treatments ever since. If Daniel knew, he'd insist on helping. He'd drain his savings. He'd give up everything. I couldn't let him do that." "You lied," I whispered. "I protected him," she shot back, desperation flaring in her eyes. "I protected both of you. This isn't your burden to carry, it's mine." Her words hung heavy in the air. I looked at this young woman I thought I knew. I saw the exhaustion etched into her face, the quiet strength holding her together. She wasn't a villain hiding betrayal. She was a sister, drowning in sacrifice. Guilt flooded me, hot and suffocating. I thought of every suspicious glance I'd cast her way, every dark conclusion I'd drawn. "I followed you because I thought," my voice broke. "I thought you were hurting my son." Emily's shoulders sagged. "I would never hurt Daniel. He's my home. But Jason, he's my responsibility. If I lose him, I lose the last piece of my old life." I stepped forward and took her trembling hands in mine. They were ice cold. "You don't have to carry this alone," I said softly. Her eyes widened with fear. "Please don't tell Daniel. He'll do what families do," I interrupted gently. "He'll help, and we'll figure it out together." Emily shook her head, panic rising. "I can't ask that of him." "You're not asking," I said. "We're offering." For a long moment, she stared at me, searching my face. Then something inside her cracked. She collapsed into my arms, sobbing with a force that shook us both. I held her tightly in that sterile hallway, feeling the weight of her secret, the depth of her love. In her tears, I heard months of fear and loneliness finally breaking free. That night, we told Daniel everything. He listened in stunned silence as Emily recounted her story, her voice fragile but steady. When she finished, the room was thick with emotion. Daniel crossed the space between them and pulled her into his arms. "You should have told me," he murmured into her hair. "We're a team. Your brother is my brother." Emily cried again, but this time there was relief in it. The weeks that followed were not easy. There were financial strains, hospital visits, and hard conversations. But there was also unity. Jason became part of our family circle, his shy smiles gradually returning as his health improved. And Emily, she changed too. The distance in her eyes faded. Her laughter came easier, brighter. The burden she'd carried alone was now shared, and it made her lighter. Sometimes I think back to that rainy night, to the fear that drove me to follow her. I remember the shame of my suspicion and the humbling grace of the truth I discovered. I learned that evening that secrets are not always born from betrayal. Sometimes they grow from love so fierce it forgets how to ask for help. And as I watch Emily and Daniel together now, their hands intertwined, I understand something I wish I'd known sooner. The people we fear losing are often the ones fighting the hardest battles to stay.